Hello and welcome back to Timeless Wisdom. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt how different the world feels at 3 a.m.? It's quiet, almost like everything has paused, and somehow you're the only one awake to notice the silence. For many older adults, waking up at that exact time isn't just some strange coincidence. It becomes a pattern, a nightly ritual. Some people ignore it, brush it off as nothing. But others lie awake in the stillness, wondering, what is my body really trying to say? Let's get something straight. This isn't just about getting older and needing less sleep. That's a myth. Your need for good, deep sleep doesn't vanish with your youth. What does change is how your body goes about getting that rest. The rhythms shift, the patterns tilt, and sometimes they wake you right when you least expect it. 3 a.m., like an unwanted alarm you never set. You might not feel tired when you first get into bed. Or you might drift off quickly, only to jolt awake a few hours later, heart lightly pounding, thoughts racing. Sound familiar? That sudden wake-up call isn't random. It's tied to changes deep in your brain, specifically your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that runs the show. As we age, the part of the brain that controls this clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, starts to lose its edge. It doesn't sync as well with sunlight, meals, or bedtime cues. So while your body still wants 8 hours of rest, it might try to split that sleep into chunks. That's why 3 a.m. becomes a turning point. Your brain thinks it's had enough, even when it hasn't. But this goes deeper than just the science of sleep. Sometimes that 3 a.m. wake-up isn't about biology at all. It's about something weighing heavy on your heart. Older adults often carry more than just physical aches. There are memories, regrets, worries that show up louder in the silence. The world's quiet at 3 a.m. and your thoughts know it. And then there's cortisol. That stress hormone loves to rise in the early hours. In younger folks, it gently increases closer to morning. But in older adults, especially those under stress, it can spike too soon. That jolt in your system can wake you like an alarm clock from the inside out. Not because something's wrong with you, but because your body's trying to stay alert even when you wish it wouldn't. Now, here's where it gets more interesting. Not all 3 a.m. wake-ups are created equal. For some, it's a sign of insomnia. But for others, it's a red flag for something deeper. If you often wake up anxious, sweaty, or disoriented, it could point to sleep apnea or even nocturnal hypoglycemia, low blood sugar in the night. And both are more common as we age. Take sleep apnea, for instance. It's not just snoring, it's your body stopping and starting its breath without you knowing. And each time your oxygen dips, your brain jolts you awake. It doesn't always wake you fully, but enough times, and your body starts expecting it like a guard on patrol. 3 a.m., time to check the perimeter. And with low blood sugar, especially in folks with diabetes or those skipping meals, that wake-up could be your body saying, hey, I need fuel. Sweating, shaking, confusion. These aren't just quirks. They're messages. Your body's way of asking for help. But let's not get too grim, because waking up at 3 a.m. can also be manageable, even fixable. And knowing what's behind it is the first step. Sometimes the culprit is as simple as too much light in the evening. That blue glow from your TV or tablet. It tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime. So your melatonin, the sleep hormone, gets shy. It holds back. Then, by the time it kicks in, you're already on your way out of dreamland. Or maybe you're drinking too much water close to bedtime. Sounds innocent, but even one extra trip to the bathroom at night can shift your sleep stages. The older bladder doesn't hold like it used to, and neither does your sleep continuity. Let's not forget medication. Plenty of prescriptions list insomnia or sleep disturbance in tiny print on the bottle. Beta blockers, steroids, antidepressants. They can all stir your sleep soup in strange ways. If you started waking up around 3 a.m. after a new med, It might not be a coincidence. But here's a thought. What if your 3 a.m. wake-up is trying to tell you something good? Sounds odd, I know. But in ancient traditions, this hour wasn't feared. It was respected. Some cultures called it the hour of the soul, a sacred time when the veil between the physical and spiritual thins, when thoughts flow freely and creativity stirs. Now, I'm not saying everyone who wakes up at 3 should start writing poetry or solving mysteries, but if your mind feels active, not anxious, maybe lean into it a little. Keep a journal by the bed. Jot down what surfaces. It might be dreams or memories or something you didn't realize you were holding on to. That's not a curse. That's a window. Still, if these wake-ups leave you tired during the day, or if they carry stress or fear, it's time to act. Start simple. Try dimming the lights after dinner. Create a bedtime routine your brain can rely on. Maybe a warm foot soak, a quiet book. Not the news. Never the news. Temperature matters too. The ideal sleep range is cooler than most people think, around 65 degrees. Your body sleeps better when it can drop its core temperature. Too warm, and it's like trying to nap in a sweater on a summer porch. And please, don't just lie there staring at the ceiling when you wake up. If you're not back asleep in 20 minutes, get up. Keep the lights low. Do something quiet. Breathe slowly. Then try again. Lying in bed wide awake just trains your brain to expect more wakefulness. This isn't about chasing perfect sleep. It's about understanding your body's new language. What once worked at 40 might not work at 70. And that's not failure. That's evolution. But there's one piece we haven't touched yet. One reason older adults wake up at 3 a.m. that cuts deeper than biology or hormones. It's loneliness. The kind you don't always talk about. The house is quiet. The phone's silent. The nights feel longer. And your brain, in that vulnerable hour, searches for connection. You might remember someone who used to share the bed, or worry about a child you haven't heard from. You might just feel a little forgotten, and that feeling can pull you from sleep like a rope. So maybe the most important thing to do at 3 a.m. isn't to fix your sleep. Maybe it's to be gentle with yourself, to breathe, to say, I'm here, I'm safe. This is just a moment, because that moment will pass. The sky will shift, and morning, no matter how delayed, always finds its way back. There's something haunting about the stillness right before dawn. At 3 a.m., the world feels paused. No traffic, no footsteps, just the hush of your own thoughts. And for many older adults, this moment becomes a nightly visit. But it doesn't have to be a curse. In fact, it might be your greatest clue to living better during the day. See, sleep isn't just about closing your eyes. It's your body's repair shop. Memory files get sorted, cells restore themselves, your immune system gets a boost. But here's the twist. When you keep waking up in the middle of this process, your body doesn't finish the job. And over time, that can show up in surprising ways. You might notice you're more forgetful, or that your balance is off. Even minor sleep disruptions can lead to bigger problems down the road, like a higher risk of falls or heart issues. But here's where things get encouraging. Once you understand the pattern, you can start to shift it. Not with drastic changes, but with small, thoughtful ones. The kind that build on each other night after night. Let's talk food for a second. What you eat and when can have a huge impact on how you sleep. Heavy meals late in the evening, they sit in your stomach like a rock, especially spicy or fatty ones. Your body gets so busy digesting that it forgets to relax. That can lead to acid reflux, which tends to show up just as you're sliding into your deepest sleep stages. And guess when that often happens? Right around 3 a.m. Instead, try making dinner the lighter meal of the day. Eat a bit earlier, maybe around 5 or 6. Let your body wind down. If you need something later, a small snack with protein and complex carbs, like a bit of oatmeal or yogurt, can actually help stabilize your blood sugar through the night. Then there's movement. Not intense workouts before bed, but gentle, daily activity. A morning walk, some stretches in the afternoon. It helps set your circadian rhythm, that inner clock we talked about. Think of it like tuning a piano. The more consistent your activity, the more in tune your sleep becomes. And sunlight matters more than you think. As we age, our eyes become less efficient at absorbing natural light. That light is what tells our brain to stay awake during the day and get sleepy at night. So if you're indoors most of the time, your clock gets fuzzy. If you can spend at least 20 minutes outside each morning, even cloudy light counts. Now, here's something that might surprise you. Naps. A lot of older folks rely on them, especially after a poor night's sleep. But long naps, or ones taken too late in the day, can backfire. They steal energy from your sleep drive, making it harder to fall and stay asleep later. If you must nap, keep it short, 20 to 30 minutes before 2 p.m. That way, your nighttime rest doesn't get hijacked. Let's circle back to the emotional side of things, because waking up at 3 a.m. isn't always about your body. Sometimes it's your spirit. Grief has a way of sneaking in during the quiet hours. Loss doesn't keep a schedule, and even when you think you've healed, it can tap you on the shoulder when the world is still. This is especially true for older adults who've outlived loved ones or who live alone. That sense of disconnection can grow louder when there's no one else around to quiet it. If that's you, know this. You're not alone in that feeling, and there are ways to soften it. Sometimes the answer is community. A phone call in the morning, a regular lunch with a friend, a hobby group, even online. These small anchors in the day give your mind less reason to stir at night. They tell your subconscious, we're not isolated, we belong. Another tool, mindfulness. Not the trendy kind you see in magazines, but simple, grounded practices like breath work or guided audio meditations designed specifically for seniors. There are programs made for easing nighttime anxiety, and many are free. Just listening to a calm voice reminding you to breathe can pull you out of that spiral at 3 a.m. Now, let's not forget about alcohol. A glass of wine with dinner might feel like it helps you sleep, and at first, it might. But as the night goes on, alcohol disrupts your deep sleep cycles. It can make you more likely to wake up around, you guessed it, 3 a.m. So, if it's become a nightly ritual, try scaling back. Your sleep might thank you. If you've tried all this and still find yourself staring at the ceiling every night, don't be afraid to talk to your doctor. Not just for pills, but for a real conversation. Sometimes sleep disturbances point to thyroid issues, mood disorders, or even early signs of cognitive decline. Getting ahead of those patterns can make a huge difference. And here's one last twist in the story. Some researchers believe that waking up in the middle of the night might actually be part of our natural rhythm, something called segmented sleep. On Timeless Wisdom, we like to remind you that the way we sleep today wasn't always the norm. Back in pre-industrial times, people didn't sleep in one long stretch. Instead, they often slept in 2 phases. About 4 hours at first, then they'd wake for an hour or 2 before drifting back into a second sleep. That middle hour wasn't wasted. It was a sacred pause, used for quiet reflection, prayer, deep conversations, or even journaling. It wasn't a sleep problem. It was simply the rhythm of life. So maybe, just maybe, what's truly unnatural isn't waking up at 3 a.m. It's expecting our sleep to look like it did when we were 30. Instead of resisting those early hours, what if we met them with gentleness? What if we embraced that space, accepted it, and allowed it to be part of our rhythm? And when you do, something subtle might shift. That 3 a.m. wake-up could become more than a disruption. It could be a window, an invitation to clarity. You've made it this far in life with wisdom earned through experience. So tonight, if the clock strikes 3 again, maybe you'll look at it with new eyes. Maybe you'll remember you're not the only one awake in the quiet. Maybe, in that moment, you'll feel just a little less alone. And if this felt like the kind of conversation you've been needing, one that makes the night feel lighter, then know this: there's more where that came from here on Timeless Wisdom. Subscribe and stay with us. We don't aim for perfect sleep. We aim to make the night feel a little more human.